So by now in the world, most people have heard of the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're not, a unknown organization. They're always the butt of many jokes, and there's a lot going on with them. But a lot of people are not aware of what happens within that organization. Okay, and I'd like to get into a little bit of it today. So let's go ahead and talk about it.
It's Black Lounge Entertainment, and the time is right with Zipri.
So grand rising, everybody. I hope everyone is doing as great as me today. Shout out to all my new subs, all the members, and everybody that comes back and catches the replays. I really do appreciate all of the support that I do get on the channel. Before we get into the show, make sure you guys hit the like button, also subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. Be sure that you go ahead and hit the join button so that you can be part of all the loungers VIP festivities. Okay, we do have lots of great fun back there, and I've got some great material for you guys. But today I was inspired to talk about this. I had been meaning to talk about this for some time, but I was really inspired to talk about this today. Shout out to Let Me See Your Transcript, Vita V. They had Let Me See Your Transcript had a show last night regarding the Apostolic Church, I believe it is. But you'd be surprised, growing up in a cult like I did, you'd be surprised how many other religions are very similar, okay? And they use what's called the bite model. So what I'm going to do is give you guys a little bit of what has happened with the Jehovah's Witnesses, okay? So that you can understand how close they are to other religions or other cults, okay? So I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. Both of my parents were baptized witnesses when I was born. I have grandparents that were in the organization on my mother's side. On my father's side, my grandmother dipped and dabbed, and my great-grandmother was a witness. I don't think anybody else were witnesses in his family. But most of my mother's family are still witnesses to this day. Okay. There's a couple of them. My aunt is a witness. I've got cousins that are witnesses. And then the other ones, well, I can't say most of them. Most of the ones that I met growing up are witnesses to this day. The other ones are not witnesses. But there's a lot of them. So to make a long story short, the Jehovah's Witness religion and the organization was my entire life. Everything I knew growing up, I knew about the witnesses, okay? All I had were friends that were witnesses. My family members were, that I was around were witnesses. So all I had was the influence of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Once I got into school, of course, I picked up different people. I picked up new friends and various things like that. It was always kind of hard to become very close to people as a child because I was a Jehovah's Witness, which I had to always stand out. I couldn't be like everybody else. We didn't celebrate birthdays, any kind of holidays or anything. So, at school, if the kids had a Christmas party or if they had a Halloween party or something like that, I really was not allowed to partake, even though my teachers did give me stuff on the side. So they never held me out of it. And my parents never pushed the issue to take me out of the classroom, which some witness kids did experience stuff like that, where their parents would have them removed from the actual classroom or they would pick them up or something crazy like that. But my parents didn't do that. They were kind of surface with the organization. They didn't really go deep and dive deep into it until I was almost a teenager. So they weren't really pressing the issue a lot. There were certain things that we weren't allowed to do, like salute the flag, and of course celebrate holidays and stuff. But I mean, they subtly did very small things. Like my mother, for instance, she would always make me a birthday cake. Okay. And my brother one too. She always made me a strawberry cake with strawberry icing and strawberries on top. I got that every year from her, and it was always a double cake. And my brother, she did the same. She did a blueberry cake with blueberry icing and blueberries on top. For her, that was her way of acknowledging us on our birthday, even though she was a witness. And it's crazy because she wasn't allowed to do that. She really was not allowed to do that. And you got to listen to this in the perspective of a person who is in a cult, okay? Not a person who is just thinking on their regular free will mind. This is a person who is involved in a cult, okay? So she was sneaking to make, birthday gifts for us. Well, not birthday gifts, but birthday cakes and stuff like that for us. But she always acknowledged that. My mother's no longer a Jehovah's Witness. She actually left the organization when I was 14 years old. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about that. But let's go ahead and get into a little bit of the organization and how the structure of the organization is. And then, why this is, in fact, a cult, okay? So the Watchtower organization is called the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, okay? They're now called JW.org, but for centuries they were they were called something else at one time, and then they became they were called Bible Students, and then they were called something else, and then now they were called the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and now they're called JW.org. So ultimately, the first person who was the founder of the religion is Charles TAZE Russell. And Charles TAZE Russell was a white man from Pennsylvania. And the white man he was a Mason. And he used Masonic symbols and Masonic teachings to basically find the Watchtower organization. If you guys don't know that, you can definitely look that up. I don't care what LLOYD Evans has said. And I know you guys who are into the JW.org and into the ex-Jehovah's Witness or the ex-Jehovah's Witness sector on YouTube, you guys are aware of who John Cedars is or who LLOYD Evans is. I don't care what he said about that, about the JWs and the Masons. I know for a fact this man is a Mason. I know for a fact he was involved because I've been to his actual grave. I've been there twice. I was there when I was a little kid, probably about 6 or 7. And I also went there at the age of 14. So nobody's going to tell me what I saw. And I'm sorry, I was 13. So nobody's going to tell me what I saw. It was definitely a Masonic temple, and it was definitely a pyramid that this man is buried in, okay? And there's various Masonic symbols all over the pyramid. I wish it's funny, I should have brought up a picture of it, but I'll go ahead and put a link to the picture in the description box so you guys can see yourselves where Charles Russell, who is the founder of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, is buried. Okay, he's buried in Pennsylvania. So that's the first part. So any foundation of an organization, of a religion, of a home, or anything, the foundation of the place will set the tone of the entire building. Okay, it's going to set the tone of the entire situation. So at the end of the day, the Jehovah's Witness religion has been built off of Masonic teachings. Okay, so that is something that most Jehovah's Witnesses are not aware of. Okay, most. Now, I'm not saying all, but most. Okay, now, once I found that out, I didn't find that out until I was an adult. Okay, I didn't realize what was happening with the organization until I was an adult, and most Jehovah's Witnesses don't. Okay, but now that we have that tone set, now let's go into the religion itself. Okay, so as I was growing up, our regular routine was 5 meetings per week. Okay, we did the Watchtower and the Awake. We did the Watchtower on Sunday. There was also the public talk on Sunday, which was an hour long, and then the Watchtower go over was another hour. So that was about 2 hours on Sunday. And then sometime during the week, we would have what was called a Bible study. The Bible study was about an hour or so. And it was usually, when I was a child, it was at somebody's house, okay? Which has a lot to do with why the organization has been involved in sex abuse, child sex abuse over the years, okay? And they've been sued relentlessly over that. But either way, there was a Bible study. Usually it was like Wednesday nights or Thursday nights or something like that. And then there was a theocratic ministry school, and it was something else we did on Sunday nights. I can't remember what it was. On Thursday nights. I can't remember what it was, but it was something that went along with the theocratic school. Okay. The theocratic school was basically where a man in the congregation would give a talk, which was like basically practice for going out door to door. And the women would sit down from at tables and talk to one another, giving talks. And that would be practice for the women going out door to door. Okay. So, and giving out their propaganda. So basically that was how our lives were. I had a very strict schedule growing up. So it was all of that plus school, plus I had some outside activities too that my parents did let us get involved with. At first, they let us get involved with outside activities, and then they stopped doing that. They had finally decided that that was against the religion. So let's kind of fast forward to that part, because, a lot of the other stuff kind of falls into what I'll tell you guys about. So when I got to about the age of 12, my dad was working at the casino at the time. I grew up in New Jersey. And my dad was working at the casino, and he had a really good job. I remember my father being on commercials with people like Frank Sinatra, and and all kinds of stuff, because my dad has been in, he was dipping and dabbing in Atlantic City all the time, and he was always around various people. He's been around Natalie Cole, Gloria Estefan, you name them. My father has a picture with them. Okay. So ultimately, my dad had a, really great job, and everything. And he was a black man, and he was in the organization. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm painting a picture about just black people in the organization, but there is definitely a story about that. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I am off today, so I do got time. But yeah, my dad was being targeted by the elders in the congregation. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me give you guys a little bit of the hierarchy too, because I don't want you guys to be confused about that. So in the hierarchy within the organization there is a governing body, which is located in New York. They used to be in Brooklyn. Now they're in somewhere else, like it's in upstate New York. I forgot where it's called. Start with a W. Anyway, they have their entire campus up there. There is where they make most of the religious books that go out across the world. And they don't really make the books anymore. Everything is like electronic now. So, but that's where they used to produce their books, all their literature and everything else. Okay. So you've got the governing body there that consists of about 7 men. Okay. Most of them are white men. One of them is a very light-skinned black man. And the other one there's a couple of them they're foreign. Okay. But they're white. So ultimately, that's their hierarchy. And they are looked upon like the Pope is looked upon in the Catholic Church. Okay. So everybody holds them in extremely high regard. They think that the governing body is pretty much their ticket to Jehovah, their ticket to God. Okay. So, if they listen to the idea of the organization is to obey everything that comes from the governing body. Anything that they say, these 7 men, these 7 old ass men, okay, anything that they say is just God, and it's just boss and his word. Okay. They literally even have literature that shows like a picture of what's supposed to be Jehovah God, and then them, and then Jesus, and then the organization. Like they really put themselves like before God or before Jesus, like in a sense, okay? Even though they don't say that, but like they don't say those words, but they definitely put it that way. They actually disrespect Jesus so damn much. It's ridiculous. And I'm not a religious person. Don't get me wrong, okay? But I would think that if you call yourself a Christian, that you would be uplifting Christ, right? I mean, am I missing something here? Well, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they really don't do that, okay? They very subtly, and it's actually a ritual, it's actually a spiritual ritual that they use now that I've uncovered a lot of those things and I understand the dark side of this. I also understand the light side of light bearers. So after coming out of the religion and coming into understanding and knowledge of thyself, I completely get, what they're doing on the memorial. Okay. So on the memorials, for instance, which is the only holiday that the Jehovah's Witnesses actually do, okay, which is similar to Easter. It's not actually Easter, but it's similar. What they do is they do an actual sacrifice on that day. They'll come in, they'll have all the witnesses come in. The witnesses don't know. They'll come in and they'll sit there. And you know how like during Easter or during like communion at the church, they'll have you eat some of the leavened bread and drink some of the wine or what grape juice or whatever it is that is symbolizing Jesus' body and his blood. Well, the Jehovah's Witnesses pass that shit all across the room. Okay, like they don't even touch it. They ain't even drinking that shit. They not drinking it. They not eating it. Nothing. Okay, the only ones that are supposed to allegedly eat it are people who are claimed to be of the anointed. Okay, which are people who supposedly are part of the 144,000, which is part of the 12 tribes of Israel, which is all in the Bible. Okay, if you don't know what that is, please go look that shit up because I'm not about to explain that to you. Okay, but ultimately speaking, these people do not partake in the taking of the leavened bread or the wine. Okay, and which is actually a disrespect to Jesus. It's actually a disrespect to the cross. Okay, like if you really are into religion, you understand the whole purpose of it. It is a disrespect to God. It's a disrespect altogether. Okay, which is what most Jehovah's Witnesses are not aware of. Okay, so that's the part that really gets me with them, is that the Jehovah's Witnesses as a whole are not aware usually of what is really going on within the organization behind the scenes. Okay, so they are like really into the religion. They will shun their family members. They will do all kinds of stuff for this religion. They will die and leave the religion all of their money and forget about their descendants and all that stuff. There's so many things that has happened with them. So I grew up, and when my mother left the organization, she was disfellowshipped from the organization. And they literally expected me not to speak to my mom. Okay. Like, I don't know. I mean, the words were actually said to me to treat her like she was dead. Okay. I don't know how they thought I was supposed to do that, but that was the turning point for me. But I had always questioned them. I mean, from the time I was a little kid, up until then, I had always questioned them. Everything that they would say or do, they would say little things, little subtle things that they would say that just never made sense to me. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't understand why God was so angry. Okay. Like according to their Bible, God was running around killing all these people he didn't agree with. And I would always say, well, okay, well, why did God make them? If he didn't like them or he didn't want, I would say stuff like that. And I would always get like yelled at, but they always knew I stood out. I was never one that was just a sheep. Okay. Like that was just going to go with whatever these people were saying. And I think it really, really amped up once they did my mom like that. Okay. So that was just the icing on the cake for me. By the time I was 15, I just wasn't fucking with them at all. I was going to the hall because I had to, but I wasn't fucking with them at all. Okay. And then by the time I got 16, I had moved to Delaware. And so I really didn't have to go to the Kingdom Hall at that point. Um, I did. I went back a couple of times on my own, just because it was something I knew. But for the first time in my life, I didn't actually have to go. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't forced to go. So um, jump back a little bit to 13. I had to get baptized. It was something I did not want to do. I fought against my father for a whole year over that. And he punished me for a whole year for not. Okay. And I think that's why I finally said, okay, yes, because I just didn't want to be on punishment anymore, basically. So I went through this little short, about a month-long class. I read this green book. I can't remember the name of it. And me and my brother went through the class together, and we both got baptized in August of whatever that year was, whatever year I was 13. I'll be 44 next month, y'all. So y'all do the math, because I don't remember. But anyway, I see y'all, a lot of y'all in here. Let me look at the comments real quick while I'm telling y'all this story. Hey, sometimes I get carried away. Vita V, I appreciate you. Stephanie Collins, I appreciate you being in the building. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so let me go ahead and finish up telling you guys about a lot of this stuff. You said I got it. Oh, Steph, you were in the Jehovah's Witnesses. You said I got my ass in trouble because I kept telling the elders God was angry at the wrong people. Okay, girl, I used to get in trouble talking trash to my grandma and to my dad. My mom, now that I know, my mom felt the same ways that I was feeling. The Greatest Man The Greatest Man. That's the name of the book. Yeah, that was the name of the book. I couldn't remember the name of it, but yeah, it was a green book. The red book was the Revelation book, which is what I'm about to get into in just a second. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into that. Let's go ahead and get into the two major reasons why I would never actually go back to the organization. Okay. The first one was let's go into and this is not the biggest one. I don't know. I think they're both big for me. So I'll just talk about the sex abuse one first. Okay. So there was a lot of sex abuse cover up within the organization. An elder actually molested me as a child. Okay. And that's something I did talk about in my candid video. So you guys can check that out on members only. But an elder actually molested me as well. Okay. Which is something I didn't find out until much later. All right. But that does happen in that organization. And the reason why it's happening on such a rampant basis like it is because they have what's called the 2-witness rule. Okay. Now, the 2-witness rule, guys, is based off of a Bible-based something in the Bible. Okay. It's some kind of scripture in the Bible that says something about if somebody is to sin, if your brother or you find that your brother has sinned, then you need to have 2 or more witnesses in order to correct him in the situation. Now, I'm going to repeat that shit again, okay? If you find that your brother or your sister has committed a sin, okay, you have to have 2 or more witnesses to the sin in order for them to be corrected about the situation. Okay. So I don't know what y'all know, but what I know is that most children who are being molested, there ain't nobody watching. Okay. There's usually somebody, they're usually tucked away somewhere. They usually, in a corner or somewhere where nobody is watching this situation. Okay. But yeah, you need to have another witness. And now I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing to keep from screaming and crying, okay? You literally have to have another witness to the crime in order for them to do anything about it. Now, most of you with a clear mind and who are not in this organization would say, well, fuck what they got to say. Call the cops, right? Yeah. Well, let me tell you about that. See, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't call the police. Okay? They don't call the police unless the only way they're calling the cops, literally, is if somebody's coming to attack the Kingdom Hall. Other than that, they don't call the police. That's not what they do. Okay? No, they call the organization. See, the watchtower, the governing body, is the police to them. Okay? That's who the police are. The elders in the Kingdom Hall, those are the police to them. Okay? These are the Jehovah's Witnesses who are heavy in the religion. The Jehovah's Witnesses who are like really, their mind has been taken. Okay? Like they are really a part of this cult. Okay? Those witnesses, they don't call the cops. If something goes on, they call the elders in the Kingdom Hall. Okay? The elders have already been instructed by the governing body to be sure that if somebody's a pedophile, oh, no. You better not call the police. Do not call the cops. You make sure you come and tell us. We will put it through our legal department, and our legal department will handle them and handle it. When the authorities found out about this, which was in, I want to say, well, these cases have been getting bust wide open for probably about 10 or 11, 12 years now. But it really got bust wide open, like news-wise and so forth, like a little before the pandemic. Probably 2018, somewhere around there. So 2017, I don't quite remember. But it was somewhere around there is when this shit was hitting the news, okay? Leah Remini had made a show and she had first started off talking about this Church of Scientology. And then LLOYD Evans and others in the XJW community, who's also on YouTube. So you guys make sure you check them out. LLOYD Evans and all of them, they all started coming forward. There were some black ones too, like XJW Fifth. There's some other ones that had came forward, and they went on the show with Leah Remini and were talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses and the child sex abuse cover-ups. And this was happening worldwide. It wasn't just in the US. It was world fucking wide. I'm talking about Australia, all kinds of places. So the Australian Royal Commission in 2015 said, fuck this shit. What is going on in this religion? Okay. So they actually had a trial. They put the governing body's ass on fucking trial. Okay. Like, what the fuck, y'all, what's going on? Y'all covering up these religion, these people? Come to find out, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and this is why they left Brooklyn. Don't let them tell you any motherfucking lies. Okay. The reason why the Watchtower left Brooklyn and they went up to whatever that shit is up there is because there was so much evidence of child sex abuse and so much evidence of cover-up, because they had thousands upon thousands upon thousands. I mean, I'm talking about thousands upon thousands of records of pedophiles in the basement of the Watchtower. I can't make this shit up, y'all. They had thousands upon fucking thousands upon thousands of records of elders who had reported pedophiles who were reported to them in the organization. Instead of reporting them to the police to not only protect the children that were being molested in the organization, but they didn't even protect children in society as a fucking whole. They would take the proof of the evidence of these men molesting these children and women too, and give it to the organization. And the organization would hide it. And they did it for years, y'all. Decades and decades worth. And I'm talking about from every fucking country. Every country that the Watchtower organization is in, this information gets forwarded to them. It doesn't matter what country they're in. Can you imagine? I just want you guys to imagine how massive that is. Okay? Imagine how many people, because they know this, because what ended up happening was they would make the children who were abused, okay, say a child said I was abused, they would bring that child and their parent into a room with the abuser, and the child would have to confess that this person molested me, this person did this to me, all in an organization of people who are cultish, who won't let you go outside of the organization to speak about any of this because they have to keep up the appearance of the organization. So there's no way you could say anything like the yes can't hide. Yes can't hide. This was really happening. This is information you guys can look up. This is very easily looked up. This information is not hidden. This information is very open. There's a lot, many ex-witnesses are talking about this. And they're talking about it online and on YouTube. Okay, there's black ones, white ones, you name them, from every country. But yes, this is something that was definitely happening. But either way, yeah, you weren't allowed to tell anybody or anything like that. So they would make the child come in the room, and the child would have to say, yes, you did this to me. And if the person said, no, I didn't, it's up to the child to prove it. Do you hear what the fuck I'm saying? It's up to the child to prove that it was really true. And the elders were not allowed to contact the authorities. They had to take that information and give it to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in New York. So now that building was bought out by Jared Kushner, I want to say his name is, Trump's son-in-law. And they have since concreted the basement, because there used to be about 5 levels underneath the surface. Maybe, I think it was more than that, but there was at least 5 levels under the surface, ground floor in Brooklyn. And they have filled all of those with concrete. Okay. And then they moved to New York. So I mean, they moved upstate New York. So there was definitely a lot of evidence that was covered up down there. There was a lot of rituals that used to take place down there, because they are, they're very aware of spirituality, but they use the darker side of it. They walk on that D-man level. They walk on that 5. Yeah, they're yeah. Anyway, let me see what else I can talk about. You said what kind of parents sit there and allow their child to go through that? You will be surprised. You would be very, very surprised, because these people, I want you to get a full understanding. See, you're not in a cult, okay? You're not in a cult. These people are brainwashed. They are literally brainwashed. And I'm not trying to make any excuse for them, because I can't make an excuse for them. But they are brainwashed people, okay? They are really, really, yeah, you said brainwashed in the worst way. Yeah, they spend every hour, yep, like Carrie Ann said, they spend every hour of the day terrified of God. They're afraid that God is going to destroy them if they don't do everything that God says. Literally. I never felt that way. I didn't give a fuck. I'm like, well, if he gonna kill me, then all right. Like, you shouldn't have brought me here, nigga. Like, that's the whole attitude I had. And I used to always say that to them, like, well, why he bring us here if he just gonna kill us if we don't do or how come he didn't make us the way he wanted us to be? You know what I mean? Why he go all the way around the mulberry bush with this and make us this way just to kill us for being this way? Like, you know what? I don't even want y'all God. I mean, I'm cool. If I got to die for it, I'm good with that. But yeah, they are definitely completely brainwashed. Anyway, so let's get into, because like I said, there was 2 reasons. Well, there's several reasons why I would never go back, but there's two particular reasons why I wouldn't go back. And so the sex abuse was probably more than likely, that's probably the biggest thing. I'll be honest with you. Okay. That's probably the biggest thing is the cover up of the sex abuse across the world. Okay. And how none of them have been brought to justice. There's a couple of elders who lately have been brought to justice. But the Watchtower literally left them on their own to deal with that. The Watchtower is the one that gave them the instructions to not tell, and the elders didn't. But the elders are being held responsible because they should have been telling anyway. It doesn't fucking matter what the fuck the organization said. And that's what the law is saying. And several of them have been sued. And the organization themselves have lost millions of dollars behind this. They actually started selling kingdom halls. So there's not nearly as many kingdom halls as there used to be. Across the world, and that's because the organization lied to the congregations and told them, hey, we'll go ahead and cover your mortgage. We're going to go ahead and pay your mortgages off. That way you guys will be free from this and free from that. And this gave them a whole bunch of lies. And sure enough, they took over their mortgages, all right, and sold them motherfuckers. It's crazy. Sold them from right under their motherfucking nose. And it's funny because the quick build kingdom halls, I've been a part of some of those. And, most of the people that attend their kingdom hall had some part in building the kingdom hall or their family. If it's an old building, then, maybe not. But if it's a newer building, yeah, you go to that hall, you probably had some part in building it. Okay. And so, yeah. Oh, yes, honey. I was about to get into that. Steph. Thank you. I like you, Stephanie. I really do. And I've seen you over at AT2. I know that you are a moderator over there. I wanted to make you one over here because I really like your moderating skills. But anyway, hold on. Let me get you that mod stick real quick. Yeah, I was going to get into that too. But let me get into the NGO member first, and then I'll get into that. So, hold on, guys. All right. So, thank you, Dr. Nikki. How are you today? I appreciate you being in the building. Thank you. All right. All right, Steph. I got you as a moderator now. Okay. So, let's get into this United Nations situation, okay? So the Red Book, Stephanie, the Revelation book. I remember reading the Revelation book. It came up. Yeah, I love AT2. He is awesome. He's so funny too. I don't think he knows how funny he is. Anyway, oh yeah. So let's talk about this real quick, okay? So the Revelation book was a book that the Watchtower has, which is amongst many other books that they have. They're basically a publishing company. Okay, that's literally what they are. But yeah, she's in here. She had hid somebody. So, but I think she's just in the cloud. So shout out to Nikki. Anyway, yeah. Sorry guys, I keep getting distracted. I'm trying to do a couple things at once. Anyway, so there was a book called the Revelation book, and the Revelation book was this big red book that was full of a bunch of bullshit. Okay, this book has, and you guys can actually buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on eBay. It's funny because a lot of their books they are being sold on eBay. Anyway, you can buy the book if you want to. I would never have that bullshit in my house. But ultimately, the book was about the last days, okay? Quote unquote, the last days. Now, there's a lot of things that were in that book that we are seeing. I can say that. But they were definitely wrong about a lot of things, okay? But one of the things that they said in that book is that, and I'll tell you guys what they said. They said that the United Nations was going to turn on all religions, okay? including the Jehovah's Witnesses, but that the Jehovah's Witnesses would be the last religion that the United Nations would turn on. And when the United Nations turns on the Jehovah's Witnesses, that's when Jehovah God is going to step in and rescue them, and Armageddon is going to start, and he's going to kill everybody who went against the Jehovah's Witnesses, and he's going to kill the United Nations and everybody else in the world, and the only ones that would be left after this war would be Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, that's what they believe. So, and I don't know. I can't say I didn't believe that. You said, oh, we heard that too. Hold on, you said, oh, we heard that too. Plain old Southern Baptist too, but we was the last. Yeah. So the JWs were the last, supposedly the last ones living, basically. Okay. And ain't nobody else, going to be living after that. Babies, people, dogs, cats, everybody dying. Okay. Like, they don't give a fuck. Jehovah is just ain't shit, and he killing every fucking body, according to them. Okay. So, hold on, guys. Sorry about that. So anyway, so Jehovah's supposed to kill everybody, and nobody's supposed to survive this except them. Okay. And so, they were saying, that you basically were not supposed to have any doings with the United Nations, any doings with anything concerning like war. So therefore, you can't get involved with the Army, the Navy in any country. Most countries. Let me tell y'all that, because a lot of stuff, propaganda that was put out in the U.S. as Jehovah's Witnesses was not put out in other countries. But like, for instance, in Africa, you can fight in war. They didn't give a fuck about black people dying. But the witnesses in the U.S. were not allowed to join the armed forces, okay, at all, and in other countries either. Whatever. I grew up, and once I turned 16, got here to Delaware, I didn't really care, so I didn't make that third time around that we studied the Revelation book, because that book was studied 3 times in the organization. I studied it twice, and the third time I didn't make it to that because I was already waning from the organization at that point. So, to make a long story short, once I got older and I started doing my own research on the organization, I realized that the Watchtower is an NGO member of the United Nations. So not only are they very much involved with the very same things that they claim for us not to be involved with, but I mean, they're actually a fucking member. Okay. I'm like, what the fuck? So that was shocking to me because, and hold on, let me stop that for a second. Dr. Nikki, I really appreciate you. You said I am in the clouds, still not ready to chat yet. I understand that. We love you too. We do love you. Okay. And I appreciate you being in the building today. Take as much time as you need. Trust me, we got your back out here. Ain't nobody going to mess with you or do nothing to you. Okay, I got you. So you go ahead and relax, and I hope your family is well. And I do have you at the altar in prayer. Okay. Vita V says Nikki and gives you hugs. And Stephanie also. Okay, we're thinking about you. All right. So you said oh, hi, good morning, Sherry O'Keefe Speed. So yep, so I think that was another big thing for me because, like I said, the organization, the members of the organization are not aware of none of this stuff. They don't know that the organization is involved in the very same organization that they claim is going to kill them. Okay. Because if they knew stuff like this, they would not be involved in the organization, and they're not aware of it. And I know they're not because they've actually okay. So I know I'm marked now. Okay. Like I know I'm marked now. Like my house is actually marked. So they don't come visit my house. Okay. Because they know I'm what's called an apostate to them, which is basically somebody who doesn't believe what they believe. That's it. Like, I'm just go against the grain. I'm not going to go with that bullshit. You're not going to convince me of any of this bullshit. And that's just what it is. And so they call me an apostate. So I'm not disfellowship though. I never got disfellowship. They never actually caught me to disfellowship me. But that's because I don't go to the Kingdom Hall. You know, and I don't involve myself. And the purpose of me not allowing them to disfellowship me. Hey, TMK, I appreciate you being in the building today. The purpose of me not allowing them to disfellowship me is because if I allowed that, then there's certain members of my family who would not speak to me ever again. Okay. It's not that well, maybe you guys would probably say something like, well, fuck them then, you know what I'm saying? But nah, these are my family members. You understand what I'm saying? And they are in this organization. They love this religion. Okay. This is part of their life. They're going to die in that religion. So I'm going to do everything I can to preserve my relationship with them. If that means not allowing myself to get this fellowship, then so be it. I don't got a problem with that. I don't give a fuck. I ain't going to the hall, and I don't subscribe to their beliefs anyway. So it really doesn't matter. But either way, no, I've never been disfellowshipped, and I've never disassociated myself for that reason. And a disassociated person is like worse than a disfellowship person, according to them. So those are probably the biggest reasons why I would never ever return to the organization. Now, after finding out about them being an NGO member of the United Nations, I really that kind of just busted wide open for me. Like, everything else was already opened up from the sex abuse and everything, but I knew about the sex abuse because of what happened to me, but I was not aware of how large of a scale this was on. Like, I had no idea that this was a worldwide thing. I had no idea that there were hundreds of thousands of victims, and these people are coming forward, from boys to girls to you name it. And you know, the people who have done it have either died off or, you know, or whatever the case may be. I could probably count on one hand how many people that I am aware of that actually were brought to justice for these molestations and whatnot. I can literally count on one hand. I know of one guy, it was a Hispanic man who had molested like over 9 children, and he finally went to jail. And it was only because one of the girls' family members was not a witness. And then there was another guy who had went to jail. This was in another country, but this was like at least 20 years after the rapes. Yeah. There was so many cover-ups, so many of them. It was just disgusting. And it's a safe haven. And that's why there was so many pedophiles in the organization, and they're still there, because they don't tell on you. They know they're not going to tell on you. There's so many of them that have done it, and then they've been told on, and the organization did absolutely nothing. And so they continued to do what they did. They just went from Kingdom Hall to Kingdom Hall. And some of them didn't go from Kingdom Hall to Kingdom Hall. They stayed in the same Kingdom Hall with the elders aware of their bullshit, with everybody aware of it. Only people who weren't aware of it were the families. Now, they might tell, nowadays, there was a new thing that they had come up with where they were like, okay, well, we're going to make the families, the parents in the congregation aware of the fact that there is a person in the organization and you got to watch your kids. But they never would tell them who it was. Like, they were so like adamant about protecting the predator, not protecting the children, not protecting the families, not protecting the world, protecting the predator. Like, as if, and in their minds, the only thing that goes on in the world is what happens in the Kingdom Hall. Like, they never took into consideration that these men would leave the Kingdom Hall and go back into the community with other children in the community who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. Like, none of that crossed their mind. They just thought, oh, well, if it happened, it only happening to kids in the Kingdom Hall. So, we could just keep it here. This is how stupid and crazy these motherfuckers were, yo. This is how crazy these motherfuckers are. It's crazy. But yeah, I just wanted to get into that, y'all, and just let y'all know what happens in some of these religions and how Vita V and them had really sparked me last night in that conversation because about the apostolic church, because you'd be surprised how many religions are following that bite model. Okay. And it's called the bite model. I want you guys to actually look into that. Okay. There's several religions, from the Church of Scientology, the Mormons, I'm sorry, the Muslims. I'm sorry that y'all, I don't care if y'all offended. I respect a lot of Muslim people, but that religion also follows the bite model. It's not as harsh as the witnesses. It's not as harsh as the Scientology church. Oh yeah, but they definitely following that too. And you know what? I'm gonna say this too. And I don't know 100% about this because, first of all, I'm not into religion anymore, and I could care less, to be honest. But I do think that some of these religions are right when it comes to the United Nations turning on religion. Okay, I definitely think that is going to happen. And I think it's because the United Nations is a humanitarian organization. Okay. And religion has caused a lot of pain and a lot of strife in the world. Various religions has in fact done that, from the Watchtower organization to the Church of Scientology to the Apostolic Southern Baptist. Yeah, all of those religions, all of those little cults have caused pain and harm to society. Okay. So yeah, I think they right about getting rid of them motherfuckers. Okay. The only thing I think they wrong about is that Jehovah gonna come back and grab them motherfuckers. Like, you said, what's the term I'm using? Bite, B-I-T-E. So let me look it up real quick because it's actually, it stands for something. So let me see what it is. But yeah, I do think that they are going to turn on religion because of how religion has caused so much pain for people. And yeah, it's just a shame. Okay, so the guy's name is Stephen Hassan, and it's called, he has a book called The Bite Model of Authoritarian Control, Undue Influence, Thought Reform, and Brainwashing. So make sure you guys check that out. It's a really, really good book. And he has some videos on this on YouTube too. So make sure you guys check that out. And if you look at it, you'll see, and if you compare like some of okay, so what it stands for is behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. Okay. So it's behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. Okay, so that is what most of these religions follow. Okay, most of these religions will have you in fear of going against the religion. Okay, so if you do this, then God is going to do that, or if you don't do this, then God is not going to take care. God is going to kill your kid, or it's just some crazy fear that they always use to get you to do what they want you to do. And the organization is all about money. I know that the Watchtower organization, the whole purpose of them is money. Okay. I remember back in the day, and I think they still do these. I just haven't been to one in several years. But they have what's called a assembly. They used to have two of them every year. One of them was a district assembly, and one of them was a circuit assembly. So the circuit assembly would be the smaller one. That would be the one where several kingdom halls within the region would come together, and everybody would go to this one big ass kingdom hall looking like place, and we would have lunch. And the only part I remember was lunch and shit. But we would have like all kinds of stuff, And you know, like, and I used to hang out with my friends. I remember doing that, and also got baptized at one of those. I used to hang out with a lot of friends there. I mean, we was doing shit, you know, we wasn't supposed to be doing, but yeah, I was hanging out with people, and you know, that kind of thing. And then we have what was called a district assembly, and our district assembly here in this region was always at Vet Stadium in Philadelphia. So those of you who are aware of Philly and remember the old Vet Stadium, that's where we used to go to every June. Okay. And we used to hang out in there. Everybody had their tents and stuff out. It was hot as fuck. But girl, they used to have them. They used to have them apple danishes, and they used to have them orange juices with the ice in it, and the Fritos. That's how I started eating Fritos, fucking with them. So those of y'all who remember the conventions, y'all know how good their food used to be. And it's funny, the circuit assembly used to have hot lunches back in the day. I remember that, like, they used to have like hot turkey and mashed potatoes and stuff, or like, I remember like turkey and gravy and just stuff like that. I always remembered that growing up. But I never really cared for what the fuck they was talking about. I just wanted to eat and have fun with my friends. You know, you know what? Shout out to Sometimes, girl. This is why me and you get along so well. Because you know what? I said that a long time ago. I said the AFWs act like the Jehovah's Witnesses. I said they do. I said that so many times. I said that a couple of times, that they act like the Jehovah's Witnesses. That there was a hierarchy, that you had to do exactly as they say, or you would be excommunicated, you would be disfellowshipped, and you would be shunned. We're not doing what anti-Afro-Svengali says. I mean, and they still act like that. They just don't. Anti-Afro still act like that. She just don't do it to the level she used to, because she don't have as much clout as she used to. Okay, but literally, the clout she had was the type of clout that the JWs got. It's funny because even Lennon Honor, I used to say the same thing. I got a video that I did almost a year ago on Lennon Honor. And what it was is, it's not Lennon right away. I think I brought up Lennon versus Spot'em Shot'em. I think that's what it was. And shout out to Spot'em. That was when Spot'em, whatever day that was that Spot'em went up on Lennon's panel, it was a couple days later is when I made that video. Okay, so y'all make sure y'all check that out, because I made it very clear in that video that many of people that go and was hanging out with Lennon and going over there, and that whole thing just reminded me of the Jehovah's Witnesses. It really did. It always reminded me of that, because of how you had to be with them. What's up, Spot'em? Because of how you had to be with them. You couldn't go against what they said. You understand what I'm saying? And it was the same thing with the AFWs. You couldn't. I mean, the same thing with the Jehovah's Witnesses. You cannot go against what they say, and if you do, you're treated like exactly how the AFWs would act. And it's funny because I learned that several of them were either witnesses at one time, or they have family members that are. Several of them were. So I don't know about all, but there were several. So that's yeah. So shout out to Carrie Ann, because you always thinking outside the box, girl. And yep, that's exactly what they was doing. They definitely follow the BITE model. So the BITE model is Spot'em is, it stands for Behavior, Information, Thought, and Emotional Control. The book is by Stephen Hanson's BITE model and Authoritarian Control. And you'll if you take a look at it, he actually has videos on this on YouTube and all kinds of places. But yeah, it's very simple information to look up and look into. And you'd be surprised what you can do to uncover cults, okay, and how those cults work, and how most religions are cultish, okay, most of them. I mean, I only say most because I don't know about all of them. There's so many religions out here. I don't know about all of them, okay, but most of them are cultish, and they follow the BITE model. Yeah, it's very interesting information to look into. I got this information probably, I don't know, uh shit, probably like 5, 6 years ago now. But yeah, but I've been doing this, and I left it, alone. Excuse me, guys, I'm trying to light up my light. So the my Miss T Pre channel is a channel where I did a lot of Jehovah's Witness material, XJW material. At the time, I was not aware of how YouTube works, and I also had uncovered the whole thing on there and a lot of stuff. And as family members were starting to subscribe to that channel, I decided to take a lot of those videos down because I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want them to become aware of what I was really feeling. But I regret that now. I wish I had actually left them up, because then you guys could see what I was saying. I said a lot, and I put a lot of it was pain. It was painful. Um, it was stuff that I had to get out, and I got it out, and the right people heard it. That's why I have a couple hundred subscribers over there. The right people heard it. But yeah, I let that go. And I wish like I said, I wish I had archived those videos. But because I can never get them back, but I didn't. So it is what it is. But I did that because I wanted to shield my mother, which now I particularly wanted to shield her first. And then there were other people in the family that I wanted to shield. But now I don't have to do that. I've had these conversations with them. We've talked about these things. My mom is a subscriber of this channel too. So, yeah, I do. And I have a strong love for Jehovah's Witnesses too. I really do care about those people. But I don't run into them often anymore. And it's because I've kind of, like I said, I know I'm marked. I think I've been marked by them. They know I'm an apostate, so they don't come around. But when they do, every so often when I do get one, I'll ask them thought-provoking questions. Okay. And every single time there's this one question. I haven't asked the question in so long that I forgot the question. But because I haven't seen them in so long. But whenever I do get to see them, I will ask them a very thought-provoking question in regards to the religion. And they always tell me they'll get back to me. I've had probably 3 or 4 different people tell me that they will get back to me, and they never come back. As a matter of fact, one couple, I used to work in this restaurant, and this one couple, I used to do waitressing on the side. And there was this one couple that tried to come and talk to me. And this black couple, nice black couple, and they had told me this story, and I told them, yeah, I said, well, come on back, we can talk about it. And they never came back, and I saw them come in the restaurant, and I was like, hey, and they looked at me like, hey, man, they didn't even eat their food. They left smooth the fuck up out of there. Like, it was crazy. I don't know. I guess they knew that they couldn't answer the question that it was. I think it has something to do with the governing body, and I forgot what the question is now, because I haven't asked the question in years. But I used to ask the same question every time, and I would get them every freaking time. And they would never come back. They would always say they're coming back, They would never come back. Mm-hmm. He said, yeah, I'll get back to you, right? Yeah, they used to say that. They used to say that all the time. It was funny. Yeah, they skipped my house too. I don't even see them no more. It's funny. Well, I guess because of the pandemic, they weren't coming out anyway. And a lot of religion, a lot of JWs have left. Excuse me, y'all. A lot of JWs have left. Also, they've they're not at, like, the organization doesn't have as much bite as they used to. They used to have a really strong grip on people, and their grip is not as strong as it used to be. And it's because of stuff like this. The pandemic also did not help, because once the pandemic hit, the Jehovah's Witnesses were no longer able to do what they usually do. Okay, what they usually do was the five meetings per week. I think they had cut one of the meetings out. I think there was one of those meetings they had cut out, one or two. I know they don't have the book studies anymore at people's houses because of the sex abuse. But they used to have them at people's homes. That's how so many kids got molested. But anyway, they so they stopped doing that. But also during the pandemic, a lot of witnesses were not, well, the kingdom halls were closed, so they weren't able to come to the hall. So they had to do everything on Zoom, okay? Like on Zoom, literally. So they were meeting on Sundays on Zoom and so forth. So while, if you're using Zoom, okay, and then you have to use the internet, okay? It was almost a cardinal sin when I was growing up to have any type of devices or anything. Now, we didn't really have the internet per se, but it was just starting to pop off when I was growing up, when I was a teenager. Okay, so a lot of this stuff was, well, like stuff that we didn't really face, but it was stuff that they definitely looked down on. Okay, like having MySpace or having anything like that was just not a thing to do. Having online, it was just something about being online that was just not that was wrong to them. Okay, well, we know now why, but ultimately, eventually they had to change that because, of course, everything became online, but it was still like you only go to certain, you only go to certain websites and stuff like that. And Jehovah's Witnesses just did it. They just didn't go to other websites, especially YouTube and stuff, because this is where the organization is being talked about the most. And so they would tell them, don't go to such and such, and this will, and Jehovah's Witnesses would be like cardinally afraid of doing such things. Okay. Well, once the pandemic hit and nobody had that grip on them like they did, a lot of witnesses started dipping and dabbing in YouTube. They started going around in here and they were arguing back and forth with people in YouTube. They were arguing with people on Facebook, literally like trying to fight. I have talked to so many people on Facebook and other places about this religion. I had a couple of people who, they would really go in, but I knew that they were going in because of their faithfulness to Jehovah or their faithfulness to the organization. And so as we would talk and as we would go through time, eventually I would get a message from this person, telling me like, everything you're saying is right. It's just hard to grasp, or it's hard to believe. You know what I mean? But what you're saying is right. And different things like that. So yeah, those are growing pains. So a lot of them have actually left the organization. And the ones who haven't left are kind of changing the rules. You understand what I'm saying? Like they're not allowing that sex abuse shit to go on anymore. I know a lot of them are like, are you fucking kidding me? If this happened to me, you know what I mean? I would call the police. I wouldn't care what the elder said and stuff like that. And there are some who would do that. Okay. But there's other congregations who wouldn't allow that. And it was because these fucking elders were pedophiles themselves. You understand what I'm saying? Like it was just ridiculous. The stuff that was happening in that organization. And it's still happening. These children are still not safe. Okay. This stuff is still going on. And they're still covering it up. It's just not as open in the news right now because nobody's talking about it. All right. But yeah, it's definitely happening. And, and for those of you, like I said, I will never, ever, ever have a problem with anybody reporting. Okay, report. If you feel like something is going on, that is fine. It's better to be safe than sorry. Okay, because a feeling could save somebody's life. It could save somebody from a lifetime of heartache. Okay, so yes, report. Nothing wrong with that. And then for those of you who have a problem with people reporting, I don't understand. Why you wouldn't want to protect the life of a child over somebody, that you are fond over, or over somebody you think is cool, or whatever the case may be. We've got to get past that. That as Alan Logic said the other day, that cult of personality. You understand what I'm saying? And with with these religions, unfortunately, they are cults, and people are following after and going after everything in these cults, and it's harming children, it's harming women, it's harming men. And yeah, we got to do something about it, especially in. So now, Steph, let's talk about the the Watchtower in the Black community. All right, so I was very shocked at a lot of the information that I had found out about that. But the Charles Russell, it wasn't Charles Russell, it was what was the other guy's name? I can't remember his name now. Anyway, it was a couple of different organization leaders before the governing body came into place. Okay. The first one was Charles Russell, and then the second one was, oh God, I gotta look it up because it's not going. He ain't about to, Rutherford. That was his name, Rutherford. So it was Charles Russell, and then it was Rutherford. Okay, so Rutherford came in, and Rutherford was an extremely prejudiced man. He was crazy as fuck. Okay, he was a drunk. The nigga used to get fucked up. Okay, so anyway, he was drunk as hell all the fucking time, and which a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, by the way, are always drunk as hell. By the way. But anyway, he was a drunk, and he was a very, very nasty individual. He was also a pedophile, and he had built this house in California, and he had built this mansion. He was a very rich man too. He had built this mansion in California, and I forgot what he called it, Bethel or some shit like that. Anyway, he said that this house was built for when Jesus and some other niggas like Moses or somebody will come back after God does Armageddon. Okay, after Jehovah does Armageddon and kills all the people, he had built a house for Jesus and them to come chill with him in. Yeah. When he died, they ended up selling that house, and somebody owns it now. But yeah, it's infamous to XJWs. They go there and take pictures of it and stuff. And the people that live there are very nice people, and they know about the whole story. But that's just a little side story. But anyway, Rutherford was a very prejudiced person, and they used to have conventions, as they still do, but the conventions used to be segregated. Okay. And they claimed that the reasoning behind it was because of the law at the time. Okay. Laws wouldn't allow blacks and whites to sit in the same space together and so forth. But it was now uncovered after having interviews with Rutherford that he felt that black people were teachable. Black people are slower people. But that, and I'm trying to use the right words because this isn't the exact wording he said, but it was very close. He said that black people were slow, and that, but black people are teachable. So black people therefore make very good Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay. And, he said that. And then they used to make black people watch, because they used to put on these skits and these plays and stuff. They did that even when I was a child, and I think they still doing that now. But they used to put on these skits and these Bible plays and stuff like that, And they used to have it in show and theater form. So they used to have it like in an actual theater, and then they would show it on a movie screen and stuff like that back in the 20s and stuff. And Black people couldn't sit in the same room as white people, even as Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay. Now, this is coming from a quote unquote organization of people who are brothers and sisters, right? They all, all are on the same page. Everybody is in the same boat, right? Well, if they're all in the same boat, we're all on the same page. If laws don't matter when it comes to pedophiles, if laws don't matter when it comes to those kinds of things, well, why does laws matter when it comes to segregation? I don't understand. You can't, they was just picking and choosing what laws they were going to go by. Okay, so they was cool with covering up sex abuse. They was cool with all of that. But yeah, they had to follow the law when it came to segregation. Okay, they even when it came to the baptisms. So with the pools, they would baptize white people in one pool, and they would take Black people to a whole nother church or a whole nother place and baptize them. There was all kinds of stuff they did. All kinds of stuff they did to Black people. All kinds of stuff. You said the Baptists teach complete abstinence from alcohol. Well, that the Jehovah's Witnesses don't. The Jehovah's Witnesses actually they don't teach abstinence from alcohol. It is okay in the religion to drink. It's not okay to smoke, but it is okay to drink. But it's not okay to be quote unquote drunk. Okay, now I done seen many of Jehovah's Witnesses drunk. I don't know about y'all. I don't know about y'all, but I mean, that was the thing. If you go to a Jehovah's Witness gathering, which is what they call them, they don't call them parties or events. They call them gatherings. So if you go to a Jehovah's Witness gathering, alcohol was a normal thing to be there. Of course, the children in most of the gatherings did not partake in the alcohol. But there were some places where the kids did. I remember a couple of families where their kids were drinking wine at the table. And that was just a thing that witnesses did. So that was the one thing that Jehovah's Witnesses were allowed to do. But they aren't allowed to smoke weed or no crazy shit like that. But they damn sure allowed to drink. You said, but never take one Baptist fishing with you. He will drink all your beer if he thinks no one is there to report back to the church. Right. And that's how the Jehovah's Witnesses are. They, you weren't supposed to get drunk, but people got drunk all the time. Okay, like all the time. And of course, I guess people just didn't tell. But also, that's another thing. Like Jehovah's Witnesses are like very, very catty people, though. Okay, because they really don't have much else going on in the world. They don't hang out in the world with people and stuff like that. So they kind of all hang out with each other, and so they all gossip. Okay, most Jehovah's Witnesses are very gossipy people. Okay, very catty, very, very, very catty people, very petty people, and so they'll do stuff like. Like if they don't like Sister Sally or something and they know Sister Sally got drunk at the party, they telling the elders. Well, Sister Sally was at the party and she was drunk, and yeah, they'll do stuff like that. Yeah. Even if they was drunk too. That's the type of shit that goes on in the Kingdom Hall. You said, okay, I was just about to say that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You said that's because evil was the driving force. Exactly. That's how most of these crazy religions are, though. Sometimes you said it was always so weird to me. My devoutly JW granny drinks a single beer every month. Girl, because that's her kicks. That's her kicks. She can do that. You know what I mean? That's the thing. That's the one thing JWs get. They get the one religion. They get the memorial. They get the one holiday, which is the memorial. And then they get to drink. So yeah, you can't take everything from them. I guess that's what they think in their mind. You can't take everything from them. But they can't celebrate their birthday. They can't celebrate any holidays except the memorial, which is a Christ sacrifice. I mean, they be killing Jesus over and over every year. Like every fucking year they kill that nigga over and over again. You said, I don't know of any sober drinkers. Okay. Like, where are they drinking in moderation in the world? I don't know where that happens at. Like, really. Like, that's why I had to stop drinking. Like, and I'm not saying I stopped completely. I'm just saying I had to stop drinking so much because I don't know how to drink in moderation. Like, I will drink and then, like, I will keep drinking. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'll just be like, I ain't drinking because I'm not going to keep, I don't want to keep drinking. That's a candid moment of mine. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here, y'all. I do want to have a good day and chill a little bit. You said, but it was clear she didn't even like it. Why are you fronting, Granny? Who are you trying to impress? Right. I don't know if you're talking about the drink or if you're talking about the religion, but a lot of them do things because, it's just the norm for them. It's the thing to do. So you said, I swear my Grammy would have one single beer. That's funny. You said they were arrested for refusing to say the pledge, refusing to be drafted, criminal slander of the Catholic bishops of the U.S. But one thing America got right was racist apartheid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know that the witnesses also went through that. But let me tell y'all a little bit about that too. Let me tell y'all the differences, right? So I remember there was a time when the Mexican brothers, I want to say it was the Mexican brothers, okay? It was something, I know what it was. I'm going to tell y'all what it was. It was something that these Mexican families had to do, okay, in order for them to not be put in jail, to not be killed, and so forth and so on, okay? And these were Mexican Jehovah's Witnesses. And they had to get clearance from the Watchtower to take these cards or these oaths with the government, okay? So the Watchtower cleared them to make sure that them and their families nothing would happen to them, you know what I'm saying, or anything. They cleared them to do this. Do you know some African families asked for the same help in, I believe it was in the Congo, okay? I gotta look it up. I'll look up the story and I'll tell you guys in a future video. But they had asked the organization the very same thing. They had requested the ability to please let us just take these cards, because if we don't take these cards, they're killing us. They're going to kill our families and everything. The Watchtower turned their back on their asses. They didn't care. They were like, you're Jehovah's Witnesses. God is going to, at the end of it, over it all, God is going to, protect you in the end. And he let them kids get raped, murdered. He let those women get killed. He let those men get killed. And yes, that is a true fucking story. Look it up. That is a true story. You said, heaven forbid someone see you on a date with someone not a JW, or seen you with, or seen with you at the Kingdom Hall. They telling the elders, child, honey. Girl, I can tell you a story, right, about a family member of mine. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm going to tell you a story about a family member of mine that I found this out after I was an adult. Okay. So my previous fiance, the one I was just with, he grew up as a witness too. We grew up in the Kingdom Hall together. And he was never baptized. He never had to get baptized. But he was there. He was always there. And he used to hang out with my brother a lot. So, once I moved to Delaware and I had kind of left being around him and stuff, him and my brother used to get into stuff. Okay. And, Somebody that they used to hang out with. I ain't gonna say who, but somebody they used to hang out with, okay? Fucking told on these niggas. Like, I can't believe like some of the stuff that witnesses do. Like, it's just amazing how they'll be doing the same shit that you're doing and then turn around and tell on you because they jealous of you or because they don't like something or you getting more play than the next one or something like that. So they just use that against you. And that's the type of stuff they use by telling the elders. Like, ain't that some weird shit, y'all? But that's stuff people do in the Kingdom Hall. Like, that is shit people do. They tell them elders, girl. They be telling them elders, honey. It's crazy. You said, but in the meanwhile, the elder is violating children. Oh yeah, the elders was out here. I mean, it wasn't just the elders, and it's not just the elders, and it's not all elders either. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. My father, to this day, is an elder in the Kingdom Hall, in the Jehovah's Witness organization. My dad is in his 70s. Okay, he ain't leaving. He's not leaving the religion. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. I done had many conversations with my father. I done had several arguments with my dad over this shit. Not arguments, but like, well, I had one argument, two arguments. But I've had several conversations with my dad over this. You know, he's set in his ways over this. And he's been in it so long, he ain't going nowhere. It's kind of like you had said one time, sometimes about your Grammy, how she's been in it so long, you know, she ain't leaving. She ain't leaving. And it also is not all bad. You know, there are some things in there that are, you know, can be grounding. There's some things in there that can be helpful, but it's not, they're not like the cornerstone of it all. Like, you can find those things other places, but you know, there is where these people find it. There are some very successful people who are Jehovah's Witnesses too. There are some famous people that are Jehovah's Witnesses as well. As a matter of fact, the Jackson family, Michael Jackson's family, are witnesses. His mom is still a witness to this day. Terrence Howard is another Jehovah's Witness. Venus and Serena Williams are Jehovah's Witnesses. They grew up in the organization. I don't think their mother is a witness now or something like that, but they grew up in the organization. Who else? I'm trying to think of some other famous people, but there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, but they do. I want to say this too. Oh, you know who else is a Jehovah's Witness, y'all? Marcus Houston. Okay, let me talk about him real quick and this pedophile shit. Okay, so Marcus Houston became a Jehovah's Witness probably about, I want to say 5 years ago. He became a witness. Okay. Oh yeah, Prince was a JW as well, but Prince was treated very different in the organization. I'll tell you about that in a second. But Marcus Houston is treated like Prince was in the organization. Now, Marcus Houston just became a witness. All right. Now, for those of you who are well aware of how the organization works, okay, you know that somebody who just comes into the organization, okay, is not up in here, you know, just telling niggas what they do. They just moving shit around, you know, when they just come up in there. Unless you are somebody, okay, and you got that type of clout, and you got that type of bread to toss to the watchtower, okay? Of course they're going to, you know, favor you and do certain things and overlook certain things for you. Marcus Houston became a witness because he started dating a young girl, okay? He was dating a 17-year-old girl who, and this is not alleged, okay? He was dating a 17-year-old girl. Well, I'm going to say allegedly for the sake of my channel. Allegedly, he was dating a 17-year-old girl. Y'all can look this up. And he was grooming this girl to marry her, and he married her when she's 18. And Marcus Houston is how the fuck old, honey? How old is Marcus? Let me find out how old Marcus Houston is. Let me Google this shit real quick. How old is Marcus Houston? We can find out. Because he damn sure wasn't 18 or 19 at the time. So we about to find out. He's fucking 40. He's 40 now. And this happened in 2017. I'm pretty sure he married this girl in 2017 or 2018. Okay, so he is 40. So at the time, he had to be what, 35? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why they like him. Okay, because he don't have no problem, lusting after these young girls. Okay, and he married her, and he married her when as soon as she turned 18. Mm-hmm. So Prince is the same way. Yeah, Prince. He said Prince started grooming his dancer. There was a couple of them. Apollonia was another one. You said Prince started grooming his dancer Bridge while she was a young child. Then they had a monstrous baby. Yep. You said, girl, you took the words right out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. Money talks. Yep. You said Marcus Houston and Prince both groomed and married their teen brides. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. You said Prince thought his baby would rise from the dead. Wow. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, Prince there's a lot of shit with Prince. Like, I've liked his music, okay? But what y'all don't understand, and this is another thing about the Watchtower organization. They are involved in a lot of different organizations within the world, okay? One of them is the Masons. They do wear Masonic rings. And there's a couple of other things that they're involved with, secret societies that they're involved with. I'm not going to talk about on my channel. But one thing I will say is this much too. And just keep this in mind when you're talking about the economy, okay? The Watchtower organization is invested in several companies, okay? So if you ever pull up their tax returns, which is public information, and you can actually pull it up, and people actually cover it on YouTube. If you pull up their tax returns, you can see just how many organizations they're invested in. Okay, so I uncovered at least 7 war technology companies that they invest in, which is funny because most Jehovah's Witnesses would be disfellowshipped if they ever joined the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or the Marines or anything even close to something like that. Oh yeah, that rabbit hole is deep, honey. We about to get a little bit into the rabbit hole. But yeah, so this rabbit hole is very deep. But they are invested in at least 7. I know of Boeing. I know of there's several of them. Honeywell. There's several, and then they're also invested in Lionsgate. Okay, which Lionsgate is, as you guys know, they own things like Cinemax After Dark, okay? All that stuff, all right? So these are things that the Watchtower is invested in, but yet they would definitely disfellowship you if they found out you were watching even an R-rated movie, okay? Or, things like that. Now, I think they've gotten a little bit more lenient on some things. Definitely not joining the military. And I don't think I know they haven't given up on watching the X-rated movies and stuff like that. Of course, that's for good reason, really. But for the R-rated movies, like, I think that was stupid. But they really had a problem with that. And I even got walked out of a movie theater one time with my friends because we were watching an R-rated movie. So I remember that kind of stuff. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah. So they are invested in so many companies. For instance, one of the governing body members, Tony Morris. You guys can look up Tight Pants Tony, okay? Tight Pants Tony, okay? Anyway, y'all can go ahead and look up Tony Morris. Tony Morris is actually one of the members of the Philip Morris Company, which makes your cigarettes. They make your Newports, okay? They make your Black and Milds, all right? Yeah, them niggas, okay? So Tony Morris is an actual governing body member. He's one of the most popular members of the governing body. Most people know who he is. Okay. And Tony Morris got caught about 2, maybe 3, 4 years ago in a liquor store on a Sunday morning. He was buying top shelf Jameson's liquor. It was the big bottles, okay, like the big fifths of Jameson. Nigga had a case of that shit, okay. Nigga had a whole case of Jameson's coming out the liquor store on Sunday morning. Somebody had him on camera. He didn't know. Okay, he didn't know, but he didn't know that Tony Morris was going to show up at the liquor store, but he couldn't help but put this shit on camera. Like, get the fuck out of here. And he recorded him, and he was telling him all about the liquor, all about Jameson's and how this is the best, and he don't deal with this. And I was like, wow. Y'all can check that video out. I'll see if I find it and put a link to it in my description box. Y'all gonna crack the fuck up. Yeah, but it was tight pants Tony in there. He was looking like Inspector Gadget. He had on this hat that was over his eyes, and he had on this long trench coat and shit. Like, niggas wasn't gonna know who that was Tony Morris. Yo, that shit was hilarious. Yeah. You said, I'm not gay. Your pants are just too tight. Yo, he would just say stuff like that. So the tight pants comes from Tony Morris making this speech at one of their circuit assemblies. And when the governing body shows up at the assembly, it's like Prince showing up, okay? Or like Michael Jackson showing up to a concert, okay? Like, everybody's like in awe, like, oh my God, like they like celebrities in the organization, okay? So he came and he did this speech at one of their circuit assembly, one of their district assemblies one time. And I don't know whose. And his speech was about the type of pants that the men are wearing in the Kingdom Hall. Okay. How dare they? Yeah. Tony Morris of the Philip Morris Company. Yep. How dare these men wear these tight pants, these tight suits, you know what I'm saying? These suits that are fitting. Yeah, he had a problem with that. So he was telling them that they had to, that they weren't allowed to wear tight pants. It was a new rule within the organization. You were not allowed to wear pants that fit, or pants that were like to a certain, First of all, why the fuck are you looking at these niggas' pants? Like, how is your attention on their pants? I don't understand. As a grown ass 70-plus-year-old, 80-plus-year-old man, you worried about another man's pants, okay? Like, I mean, y'all let me know, for the men in the chat, you know what I mean? If y'all in here, are y'all worried about anybody's pants? I mean, are y'all like, is that a thing? Is that a thing? Maybe that's a thing. Maybe us ladies, we just don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the thing, that men, will judge niggas by the pants that they wearing. I guess. I don't know. Y'all let me know though. But yeah, Tony Tight Pants, that guy there, he is something else. And yeah, he has. Now, let me say this much too. The governing body members that are governing body members now were not around when Rutherford was around. They were not around. Actually, they are the newest governing body group. When I was born, there was, what was that guy's name? Franz. It was Franz. His name was, I can't remember his first name, but Franz was the head governing body member. Now, he was very, very much into pedophilia and stuff like that. And y'all can look into that stuff. His nephew, Ray Franz, was aware of, I think he was aware of a lot more than he disclosed. But what he did do was write 2 books. He was literally, not only was he disfellowship, Ray Franz was disfellowship, but Ray Franz was what was called an apostate, okay, which is what I am, somebody who will openly speak against the organization. So Ray Franz was treated, I remember when I first heard about Ray Franz, I was a very little child. And I remember there being pictures of him on this particular, I think it was a Watchtower or an Awake or something that they had passed out. And on here was a bunch of pictures of him looking all demonized and looking all crazy and stuff. And they just made him look like he was just this horrible person. We were not to hear anything he had to say. He was of the devil, and you cannot speak to this guy. Okay. So that was just what I knew. Now, knowing now, after talking to my mom and talking to other people, that's how I found out who Ray Franz was, and that he was an actual elder. And he got into becoming an elder from his uncle, Fred Franz. That was his name, Fred Franz. He got into the religion. He got into becoming an elder from the uncle. Well, Ray was at all the meetings. He was, involved in most of the things. I can say I don't believe that Ray was invited to the satanic rituals, because they did a lot of those. They did a lot of satanic rituals. They would do certain things in the woods, out in between New Jersey, also in New York and in Pennsylvania. And there is videos about this on YouTube, so you guys can look into that. And I've had dreams about those things, so I'm very aware of what was going on in those sacrificial rituals. And there was a lot of children, child sacrificing going on. I can't talk about that. That's really deep. Anyway, that's really that is information you guys can learn and you guys can get into. It's on YouTube, but I don't want to get into that right now. Ultimately, Ray Franz got in from him, and I don't think he was invited to such rituals. So I don't know if he was fully aware of all of that. But I do know that he knew that it was not the true religion. He knew that it wasn't right. He knew that they were satanic, and he talked about it. He opened up, he wrote 2 books. One was called Crisis of Conscience, and the other one was, I forgot what the other one was called. But you can look him up. His name is Ray Franz, Raymond Franz, Franz. Okay. And yeah, he's dead now, but he bust the door wide open on them niggas. He was like, nah, they lying. They lying. They, the meetings would be just consisting of a bunch of guys getting together and having a conversation and coming up with various points, kind of like any other organization or any other business would do, and just making decisions for the business. And it had nothing, nobody prayed. God didn't come into the mix. It was none of that. It was them sitting down, all chilling, having a conversation, talking and deciding what's right and what's wrong in the organization. That's what happened. They ain't nothing special about these niggas. Okay. Now, what he didn't know also was that they had certain sacrificial meetings. They had ritual meetings. Okay. Which they did a lot of those at the in Brooklyn, which is now covered in concrete. Okay. So a lot of that stuff can never be uncovered. And if it is, it'll be uncovered well after people are dead. Okay. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about the organization for now. I'm trying to think of anything else I can think of. I think somebody said something in the chat that I did want to say something about. Hold on. Yeah, there's a lot of information you can find out about the organization. It's something else. It really is. You said all the purity and virgin worshiping is inherently misogynistic and pedophilistic as well. Because, listen, there was certain, like, okay, you guys can look this up too. There's certain books and literature that they had. And before I tell you this, I'm going to let you know this. The Watchtower organization now has burned all of these books. They have requested, it was a few years ago. I can't remember when, but it was a few years ago that they had told all of the, it was started around the time when the sex abuse cases started. Okay. And when they started, the Australian Royal Commission and all that stuff started up. They had instructed every single congregation to go into the libraries and to literally put all of those books and into cans and bins and burn them. Or if they weren't able to burn them because of ordinances, they had to send them, they had to pack them up and send them to the Watchtower, and the Watchtower would get rid of them themselves. They never gave an explanation for that. But of course, we know why. but they never gave an explanation for why they wanted to do that. What they wanted to do was they wanted to try to destroy the truth. Okay. They wanted to try to destroy the fact and the history of the organization. They wanted to destroy the FRANZ story. They wanted to destroy the Rutherford story about the house in California. They wanted to destroy Rutherford's take on Black people. They wanted to destroy the founder being a Mason and how all of their literature had Masonic symbols on it. All of their literature had Masonic symbols, including the Watchtower. The Watchtower is a Masonic symbol itself, okay? And then they had, it was another thing they were trying to get rid of. They had books that had pedophilic references in it. So, for instance, there was this one Watchtower I remember where it was all these people looking at something in the distance, and it was this child looking and in the distance too, and all these other people were looking, and then there was this man. It was a Black man too. They had this Black man staring at the child, and his dick was hard. Yeah, you could see that in one of their books. It was either a Watchtower or it was something like that. And they used to have little subtle things like that. They would have like dicks, like pictures of dicks inside of like hidden in pictures, kind of like Disney does. Yeah, they did shit like that too. And they tried to destroy all that, but they couldn't destroy it because people had already left and people had already kept copies of it. And then as you know, the internet got to popping real well, people started posting shit like that, and it's still out there. It's still out there, so they can never ever destroy that shit, ever. They could try to hide it from people, and if people aren't knowing to look for it, then they won't find it. But it's people like me that's gonna bust that door open. I ain't got no problem talking about shit like this. And there's other people too. There's plenty of us talking very openly about what has happened in the organization. So the Watchtower is not any different than any of these other religions. Very similar. I think that the one thing about the Apostolic Church I was hearing about the demon checking, that is not something that the organization did. I must say that I don't recall that happening. But I do remember them being making demons, like they wanted people to be very, very afraid of demons and very, very afraid of Satan. Okay, Shaitan. They really wanted everyone to be completely afraid of them. And they wanted us to rely on the Jehovah's Witness organization to save us from Satan. So if we stepped outside of the religion, then Satan would attack us. Satan would have the ability to attack us, and they would tell us and use propaganda, use pictures, use videos, all kinds of visualizations and stuff, and sounds and stuff what's the word I'm looking for? To hypnotize people. They even use a certain tone in how they talk. That's all in the bite model. There's also a guy named Jason Zelda. You guys check him out. He is a Black man, and he is on YouTube. He is not a XJW. However, he is aware of the XJWs and what has of the JWs and what has happened in the organization. And he is put that information out there. I learned a lot from him. And it's amazing how you can, once you step out of the organization or step out of the fear of finding information, the information you'll find. So yeah, I did run into Jason Zelda, and you guys make sure you check him out. I'll put a link to his channel in my description box. I don't think he makes videos on the JWs anymore, but those videos are there forever. I don't think he plans on taking those down because he has no stake in the game. And then there's others too out here, Black people who have successfully left the organization. Some of them have turned to spirituality like me. There's one that's called I Am Monica. It's a Black lady, older Black lady. She's into spirituality, crystals. She's into tarot as well. And she's an XJW. And there's many others, many other people that I actually I am subscribed to, and I do support. Another funny one that I absolutely love is Jay the Comedian. I will make sure that I put a description or a link to his video or link to his channel in my description box as well. Jay the Comedian is probably the funniest XJW I have ever talked or seen in my entire life, okay? This nigga got so many stories. He's from Chicago. So he got so many XJW stories. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Like, some of the stuff is hilarious, okay? I'll never forget the one story he told about being at a gathering, and how a JW gathering, and how they had decided to put together this talent show. You know, I mean, this is Chicago, so a lot of like Black congregations would do some things that white congregations wouldn't do, or they would, you know, allow for more things that other places wouldn't. They weren't as conservative, you know, so you would find that across the country, you know, and probably across the world, because in other countries it was okay, for instance, for men to wear beards, where in the US that is completely frowned upon, okay, which is stupid, I know. But yeah, that's some of the dumb rules they come up with. But anyway, he was at this gathering, and they were singing different songs, and different people were doing different talents and stuff. And he said it was this one group that got up and started singing the Yang Yang Twins. To the window, to the wall, to the wall, to the sweat drop down my balls. He said the music just cut real quick. Everybody just started looking at each other. Yo, I was crying. I never got over that story. If you a Jehovah's Witness, or you an ex-Jehovah's Witness, you know that if that song come blurting out in front of one of them older JWs, you already know what it's hitting for. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I put this link to his channel in the description box, so you guys can laugh. And he still makes funny XJW videos. He still to this day makes them. I think I watched one yesterday. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here and go ahead and chill for the rest of the day. I do got a couple of things I need to go take care of, so I guess I'll go do that. But y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. I really appreciate y'all coming in here and busting it up with me on this Wednesday, this hump day. Y'all have a great day, and enjoy your day. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's make a home. We make a home. I don't wanna go everywhere. I don't wanna go everywhere. Let's make a home. We make a home. I don't wanna go everywhere with me. Make a dollar, make a dollar, make a. Make a dollar, make a dollar, make a.